Welcome to the Ignite You podcast,
where two bros journey into all things spirituality and human transformation.
Let's get it. I can feel my heart chakra balancing. Like that was great, but there's still
that was great and
that.
Yeah. I just want to see if we should even shoot this podcast today.
Oh,
let's let it decide.
Classic.
Nope.
That's a wrap.
Are you tuned into it?
I forgot to tune into the palette before I lit it.
Reset it. Okay, now go. It's burning a lot. Seems like you got a lot of negative energy around you, huh?
My guide's coming through and saying that it's actually
I tuned into it? No, it's not.
Well, maybe it's this cacao. Maybe I didn't buy the cacao from the right dealer.
Yeah.
Maybe she did it in a titanium pot instead of a clay pot.
I mean, you put this in a blender, which is already wrong.
Well,
yeah, can you clear it? Can you clear it?
No, but it's right.
Oh!
I think it's in your eye.
Yeah, can you clear it? Can you clear it? It's in my third eye, actually.
Oh, yes, that's right.
Thank you.
But like open your mouth?
There was definitely something in there.
Yeah.
Energetically.
Well, there we go. You're purging.
Energetically, though, it was in there.
You're purging. Yep. Let it out.
It's not bad for you if it's spiritual.
How committed are you?
That smoke's good for you, right? How's that lighter, huh? You gotta do it quick. Okay, cheers. Welcome to Ignite You, guys. Okay. Tune in, see what's coming through for today's session. Yeah. So if you can't see, if you're not watching on video and you're just listening in, we have a plethora of spiritual objects and things that we actually use ourselves.
They're actually from my room.
From his room, from his mantle, from his meditation station.
Altar.
We call that an altar. So we got a singing bowl, we got Palo Santo, we got a crystal, we got some incense holder, and what is this back here?
This is my Agua de Florida.
Agua de Florida.
Yes, straight from Peru.
And what do we use that for?
Well, you see, when you see a little bit of energy that needs a little clearing, we spritz it.
Ooh, it actually smells amazing.
It really does. When you're in an ayahuasca ceremony and things are getting really bad, it actually helps quite a bit.
So that's what we're talking about today. We're talking about spiritual bypassing because it's something that goes on a lot in the world of spirituality, and we have definitely been in it ourselves.
So let's define what is spiritual bypassing for people that might not know that term.
I'm gonna toss it to you for that one.
Wow, question that was
back.
Then thrown back.
You got this.
All right.
Yeah.
So for me, spiritual bypassing is using spiritual practices as an excuse to not get shit done. In my opinion.
Yeah.
It's like using the fact that I am a divine being on a spiritual journey to neglect the fact that I'm also a human that has responsibilities and has things that I want to accomplish and get done that sometimes require blood, sweat, and tears to get done. Human right? Yeah. Because it's so, we hear it all the time, but we're not humans having a spiritual experience. We're spiritual beings having a human experience. A human experience. And to add to that, so many people, I think, spend their whole lives trying to leave their body when really your soul came here to be in a body. So spiritual bypassing is trying to go back to source, trying to be all love and light, trying to stay in that beautiful bliss state and not realize that you're here to do some nitty gritty shit. Snaps.
This is true.
You got
I have ash on me from the Palo Santo we burned it to cleanse the space before this. And we're not saying it because we're anti-spiritual practice by any means.
Nah, I get weird as f***.
We get weird as f***.
You should have seen what we did before this podcast.
It gets weird, guys. And we have our practices, and we use them. These Wallabies aren't just for show. We actually use these on a regular basis.
But you got them at Sears, right?
I got them at Sears. It was on sale. This isn't even real Rudraksha.
No.
This is plastic.
Yeah.
But it looks good, guys, is what I'm saying. And we love this shit. That's why we're leaning into this today and talking about this. And we wanted this to be an episode so early on in the podcast because we feel it's so important to go into this side of the journey because we've been there.
And let's be honest, like the shit that we do is ridiculous.
It's weird.
Like I sometimes take a moment to think about like my past self. Like think about if like 23-year-old Cam could look into like the window of my life now and what I do, and he'd be like, "What the are you doing? You're chanting, you're screaming, you're crying, you're meditating, you're like praising your guides, you're asking questions to thin air. Like what is this?
Yeah.
What are you doing?" And I think that a lot of people who aren't in the spiritual path actually get turned off of the spiritual path a lot because so many of us on this path, we go so far into that world that we forget that, you know, there is a whole other world, not reality. We're going to not say one reality is more real than the other, but there's another world that as humans and as a collective species, we kind of sometimes have to operate in or play in.
Playing it. That's the experience, right? It's not relatable once people go to the extreme of the area. Like when I first went into getting interested in spirituality in Bali, I think that was kind of your first dive into it as well. You go to a place in Bali like Ubud, people are deep in it, deep in the spirituality in a sense where you probably heard the term woo-woo. And that's far down the path where you're in spirituality so deep that you're no longer relatable to most other humans. You can't have a regular conversation. You can't bro out a little bit. You can't just talk about things that are going on. You only want to go down these deep paths of spiritual conversation. And you're only going to have a meeting at 3:33 in the afternoon. And so that is obviously
not
that that's wrong. I'm just saying to only move with that intention, with the numerology in mind, it can be challenging to relate. It can be challenging to connect, and it can be challenging to have an impact. If you're a coach, if you're a healer, if you're somebody in this work, to have an impact to a larger audience and more people. If you're not relatable and they can't relate to you, it's a lot more challenging to actually connect with the humans around you.
For sure. And I think that's why a lot of people on the spiritual path, we deal with that loneliness.
Yeah.
You know, I know at the beginning of my journey, you know, even if I said to someone like, I wake up and I meditate for 20 minutes a day, people would look at me like, you know, something was terribly wrong. And then that would bring up their shit, trigger them, and ultimately ostracize me a little bit more from that community or whatever. And I would go deeper and deeper into being like, wow, this path is really alone. But simply put, it's because I personally was trying to put this stuff on other people. And I was like, oh, you don't meditate? You should meditate. If you don't meditate, you're really f***ing up.
They're bad energy.
It's
that means
like,
they're bad energy.
You're bad energy. I only want to hang out with
my aura
good energy.
with that
Yeah,
bad
like
energy.
back up. Get
out.
out of my aura.
Get out of my field.
Why are you flexing on my aura?
Get out of my field.
What's in your third eye right now?
Is I'm just releasing.
Oh, it's a mosquito bite.
Yeah, it's actually a mosquito bite.
Okay.
It's
like,
in the body.
I thought you were having a download that was coming through.
Tapping for the download. Real talk, people.
But we actually do this stuff.
Yeah.
At the same time, it's hilarious.
It is.
Because if you think about it, from where we come from, or where I come from, like it's so foreign.
Yeah. And to allow it to be funny too is such a beautiful practice. I think to go deep, like go hard into it. Like Cam and I have both seen each other, let's just say in a breathwork journey, for instance. Cam has seen me in some of my weirdest shit, like just slobbering from the mouth, crying, screaming out, having tremors in my body, just moving energy and getting downloads from many different planes. And we can reflect on that and have fun with that and allow ourselves to see it from a perspective of lightness.
Yeah.
And allow ourselves to even have fun, make fun of it, and allow it to be an enjoyable, playful experience. And I think there's a beauty in that. I think that in itself is a practice to bring the lightheartedness and playfulness into the spiritual spectrum. It's so often that it's far, far, far too serious.
100%. And you know, to add to that, I will say, you know, in trauma work, for instance,
yes,
where I run breathwork sessions on people who are dealing with deep trauma, that requires reverence. That requires depth. That requires going in and being with that person through whatever and showing the up for that person. You and I, we like challenge each other in such a way where you and I go deep into our work and we're like, wow, I did this thing and it was fucking crazy. I don't know what happened. Let's unpack it. And over time, after we do that, we get to a place where we can be like, yo, remember that time?
Wild, man.
That happened. That was wild.
Yeah.
And so it's super important, I think, and this is what this podcast is all about, is this concept of reverence and also this concept of like openness, right? Like having the belief and having the faith, but also having this radical ownership over your journey and how you're going to navigate through it and how you're going to use these tools to ultimately live your best life, but from a place of authenticity. Because, you know, in Bali is so funny. Like I would go up to people and you'd go, hey, what's up? My name's Cam. And then they'd look at you and they'd be like, hey, what's up? My name's Starchild. I'm from the Pleiades. And I'm like, cool.
Yeah.
I read Barbara Marciniak. I read about the Pleiadians. I'm all about that shit. At the same time, we're at a party drinking cacao. I just want to know your name and I want to talk some shit.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's like
have fun.
And have fun, right?
Yeah.
And so, you know, it's not that there's anything wrong with that, but there's a certain level of kind of depth, I think, that we can get to in the work that we forget almost that there's this playful, more grounded, well, I'm not going to say grounded. There's this playful, more relatable side of the journey that if we don't know somebody yet, maybe we don't go all in with saying that we're star beings from the Pleiades and we give them our Earth name, and down the road, if we realize they're deep into the Pleiades, then we start talking about that.
Yes.
You know what I mean? It's like...
It's true. It's true. And you're naming a good point of being on the path. A lot of people get addicted to healing. So that's like the spiritual path, right? And I say a lot of people, I'm speaking for myself. I know I fucking...
This guy.
Most definitely.
This guy.
Yeah, both of us.
We're both in this.
Yeah, like this is something that is very real and we've been inside of and continue to unpack and to play with, because people in the work of spirituality, healing, personal growth, any of these avenues get addicted to healing, get addicted to coaching, get addicted to all these paths and need to continuously heal. And don't, that's probably going to sound bad in post-edit. Okay, heal. And don't actually allow integration, like you're saying, into the world around us, into the playful light beings we are innately as humans. And just keep going down the path of healing, keep going into that darker area that spirituality can bring up. For sure. Not, are you looking here?
No, you got a dangly hair.
Okay,
it's like, it's bouncing and it looks really good. Like I like it, but it's really
field.
I
thought there was...
No, I'm always
here.
Your field.
It's my hair. Okay. Right? You relate with this, right?
100%. 100%. And I want to add just a disclaimer here. I know some cosmic ass people that just do not identify with this realm. I know some very dear friends of mine who do not identify with this. Like they're you know, in my opinion, they're sending out of here. They either tripped and slipped in their embodiment and ended up in the wrong dimension, or they are just on a level that is taking them away from this plane in their next lives. We're going deep, right? There's this. There are a lot of those people, and for those people, it's authentic. It's true.
Yes.
Really what we're getting at here, and this is what I think is really important, we keep coming back to, is the inauthentic expression of using these sacred practices and these sacred tools as excuses for not doing shit. And excuses for not operating in a way that's conducive to collective consciousness or collective connection. You know, because I'll meet people that will be like, your energy's off, I'm not talking to you. And it's like, okay, cool. Like, I understand that. Maybe that's cool. Maybe that's how you're actually feeling. But if, like, I'm not going to deepen my connection with that person, and there will be nothing there. And it's like, it could have been, I don't know. It's kind of a touchy, actually, now that I say it, it's kind of a touchy one. What do you think?
It is. And it can go many ways, of course. That could be you tuning in to, like, your gut. That could be you tuning in to intuition. It can also be you just feeding a trauma of like how you avoid certain people. And maybe you should lean into having these interactions and engaging with more people and accepting more human beings and not kind of putting yourself in this box of spirituality and avoiding most of the world, which I speak to this because I did that for a while. It's like I'm in this certain area and like the bubble of Bali, for instance, I'd be like, okay, we're like in this area. This is who we are. It's so easy to avoid most of the world because we're in this bubble of reality. But then that becomes our only bubble of reality. We don't actually see the world in diversity for what it is. So like what Cam's saying and the difference between like just moving like that and then not having radical ownership to what's going on outside of you and connecting with this world and connecting with these people and not avoiding it and saying it's spiritual and just owning it and saying you do or you don't want to do it. Like have that power in yourself and give yourself that power. That's the big thing, right? It's like we're putting the power outside of us to a thing or like whatever. We love the tools. We love the practices and all these things. Yes.
Yeah.
But having that power in yourself to be like, actually, it's not because Mercury's in retrograde. I just don't feel good today.
Yeah.
And own that shit. Like you don't have to say it's because of anything. Like I actually just don't feel that good. And I choose not to do this. I don't want to go to that party because I don't feel that alive right now. Like I feel like I need some rest.
Yeah.
It's ownership in it. I see that as one of the biggest things in spiritual bypassing that I've noticed that I've been inside of and that I've seen a lot of my good friends do. And that's challenging, man. It's hard, again, it's hard to relate with those people. And it doesn't give themselves ownership of their internal reality either.
Yeah. I love that so much. And I love how you transitioned into that because, I used to always blame Mercury retrograde.
Yes.
Always. Like, always. I was like...
It must be in retrograde,
My
right?
computer just shut off and it's not working. Must be Mercury retrograde. I'm going to close it down. I'm going to go to the beach. I'm going to do something else. It's like... Yeah. I used to always pull that card. And, I was talking about Mercury retrograde to one of our friends the other day who's like, he's on the spiritual path, but he's also like a big fact checker. He's a big tester.
Yeah.
And he's like, man, I went and researched Mercury retrograde. He's like, it's an optical illusion. It's actually not doing anything. If you look at it, the planetary alignment's actually still totally the same. Yeah. And so we went on this whole conversation about it the other day, which was pretty funny. And at the same time, it's like, even if Mercury retrograde is happening and there's some things preventing you from doing what you were supposed to do that day, it's like maybe you were just supposed to like pull up your socks and get a little gritty and get it done no matter what because you had to prove to your higher self that you were willing to do the you needed to do in order to bring forth your dreams, right? Yes. For instance, something like that. Because for me, I know that I used to use that very conveniently and I would spiritually bypass getting done because I have this little thing where it's like, oh, Mercury retrograde, or oh, my card said I should keep it easy today and really stay inward. It's like, well, no, I had to show up for my clients and I had to get done.
Yeah, it's funny too because we were talking about this before the episode when Cam was saying belief and faith, because belief does then in turn create the reality. So if we believe Mercury retrograde is going to make us feel crazy, off, whatever Mercury retrograde does for you and your experience of it and what has been told for it to do, and you believe that, then
it's gonna happen.
That's going to happen. So like, in a sense, yes, it's truth, but also you can pick your truth. You can pick your belief. You don't have to believe the collective. You can choose. So that's what it comes back to. And I'm saying this out loud for me too, because sometimes I get caught up in these stories and in these collective beliefs because we all do to some extent. But it's like, I need to remember that, like the power in myself. Just because all the friends around me don't feel good, it doesn't mean I need to also feel bad. I can feel good, even if the people around me aren't. If the people around me are all feeling good, I can feel bad. That's okay. And so it's like, it's giving yourself the ownership and the power in that. Question for you. How did you come to the understanding you have now about these ideas? Because I know in past experiences, I know you were deep into this. Because when we met in Bali, for instance, like both you and I were deep in it. I'm curious, how did you start unraveling your understanding of it and not just getting caught in cycles of the spirituality and like beliefs in that? Because you're so deep in it now, in a sense, where like you have these beautiful practices, you bring your guides into a lot of the things we do, you're really intentional about it, but you seem so balanced in it, and I'm curious how you have brought that in.
Yeah, it's a great question. And I think it's kind of like the pendulum, right? Like we start over here, and for those of you not watching the video, we swing all the way right,
like a pendulum,
yep. And then we go all the way back. You guys know what a pendulum is,
like
right?
A pendulum.
You guys
it
get
does
it.
that.
You get it. Okay,
it does do that.
A pendulum does that.
Yep.
So I think over the last 3-4 years, or 3 years in particular, I've really started to kind of balance it out. Where, I would go so deep into spirituality, and I still do. Like when I bring my clients and we run events and experiences and all that. We're going hard. Like I believe deeply that we're surrounded by our guides. We are energy emitting matter. Like I'm a full believer in all this cosmic shit. Like I go deep into it. Mm-hmm. And at the same time, it was this realization and this paradigm shift that I embodied as a human. Mm-hmm. I am a spiritual being. I'm a limitless being. I am a being that lives forever, that is oneness, that is love, that is connection to all. Mm-hmm. I choose to be a human, to experience what it's like to be a human. And when I had this moment of realization, I was like, holy shit, I get to have fun. Mm. Because for me, one thing that happened when I went so deep onto the spiritual path is everything became so serious. And you were saying this already earlier. It's like everything mattered, and it all was just like, I can't take a sip of cacao without full presence and acknowledgement of the spirit of cacao, and I can't wave Palo Santo over my body without extreme presence and reverence for the spirit of Palo Santo, and I have to talk to the plants, and
everything's a trigger or a trauma.
Everything's a trigger or a trauma.
Yeah.
Exactly. And it's exhausting.
Yeah.
When you get into that. And for me, like, look, I'm wearing a tie-dye hat
and a crop top.
Multicolored beads.
We like it.
Like, I like to have fun.
Yeah.
I like to be a human. I have a dirt bike out there. I love riding dirt bikes. I love riding skateboards. I love surfing. I love interacting with people. I love going into environments that are super fucking weird so I can experience what that environment's like, both in the spiritual world and out.
Yeah.
Right? I still like to go to business conferences. I still like to go out for dinner with people that aren't on the spiritual path because I still learn about my programs and what's going on for me by putting myself in circumstances that might be uncomfortable or might be different. Like how can I relate to somebody now that isn't on the spiritual path?
Like the drag show we're going to tonight.
Exactly.
How can you relate to a drag queen?
Right? It's going to be fucking amazing.
Yeah.
Right? So, and it's at a bar. And old Cam would have been like, nah, vibration's off.
That's misalignment because they're drinking. Yeah.
They're drinking. It's not right. It's this, it's that. And I would put so much pressure on myself to create this spotless container around me.
You're so limited on where you can go and express and be inside of.
You hit the nail on the head. I was so limited in what I could do. And for me, I like hanging out with tons of different kinds of people. Mm. And if it's not spirituality, we can talk about motocross. If it's not motocross, we can talk about surfing. If it's not that, we can talk about music. Talk about all these different things. So
that's the relatability. We are so diverse as human beings, but when we put ourselves in a box, like I am spiritual, and then we try to live in that only, then we don't allow ourselves to unravel these other parts of us. And we try to hide different parts of us. Like from when we were younger, we used to ride dirt bikes. If we hid that part and we're like, no, I'm not doing that. That's dangerous. That's whatever. Yeah. I have to be on this path. I will walk everywhere. That can be limiting to our full expression. I have so much fun riding on the dirt bikes, man. Like so good. Throw on some hip hop. Like I throw on some rap that's like nasty. And that's one experience too that I can relate to is for a while there, I stopped listening to rap music.
Yeah.
And I think you did this too.
100%.
We stopped listening to a lot. We talked about this. We stopped listening to a lot of music because we're like, okay, this is tainting my expression. This is dimming my light. This isn't in alignment with who I want to be. These lyrics, whatever, blah blah blah. But we both got to a place where we're like, we get to choose how we identify with this.
Yeah.
This is a frequency that feels good. I like this. I can choose to listen to this. Mm-hmm. I can choose what this energy creates. Just because they're talking profanity, they're saying F this, get that, get money. Like, okay, I can direct that however I want, as long as you're conscious of it. And so that I think that's beautiful to be able to bring that in.
I vibe with that. Like, and I love how you said conscious of that. And I think that's the most important part of this is I don't think everybody should listen to rap music because subconsciously it is programming you.
Yes.
However, if you're aware of that and you can be conscious of that fact taking place, you can control the outcome of that. So I can be intentional with putting in my headphones and being like, this is going to be some nasty shit. I'm just listening to it because I like listening to it when I ride my dirt bike.
Yeah.
I'm not choosing to believe in it. Giddy up. Let's go. Right? I think that intentionality and being aware of it is so important. So people on the conscious path, it's like, this is such a cool aspect to bring up. And I want to make sure that we don't go too sideways here, but it's all about the integration piece and how you take these aspects of your spiritual journey and apply them to your life.
Yeah.
You know, and that's really the magic. That's the alchemy where we take these practices that are so powerful and we go, okay, like now that I am aware of these certain tendencies that I have, I can go and play in these different realms. And for me, it was alcohol, right? I stopped drinking forever.
Yes.
And then I had a friend that said to me, he's like, how come you're giving alcohol your power? And it hit me like a punch in the gut. And like, shout out, Kurt, you're f***ing amazing. I love you so much for this. He was like, how come you're giving alcohol your power? And it was such a moment for me where I was like, well, no, alcohol's not spiritual. Alcohol's not this and that. And I'm a new person now. And then it was exactly that where he's like, yeah, you're a new person. You could probably go have a drink and be fine. And I took the work that I had done over 3.5 years of like changing who I was, and I could go have a glass of wine and it was no problem. And I still can to this day because now I enjoy a margarita. I enjoy a glass of wine. I enjoy going out to a nice bar with a friend or a partner. And to me, that's taking this work and alchemizing it into being able to express myself as a human in a new way. You know, but I could go my whole life spiritually bypassing the fact that I used to be an alcoholic and just pretend like it didn't exist.
Well, you're avoiding that piece. And it's like,
Exactly.
it's avoiding that part of you, which may have been a toxic part of you, but if you don't let that part express, what does it turn into? So that's a big piece, right? We don't let those parts of us get expressed. I love touching the table and making sounds. If you guys are hearing it,
You're a very animated person. Are you Italian?
I'm Italian.
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 There you go. Shout out to Italians.
Shout out to Italians. I gotta let it
human.
express. I feel like there's a little Italian in me sometimes, and so
you
I gotta bring it out.
It's Brooklyn again. It's like Italian
Brooklyn
vibe coming up.
Yeah, that's true. I have family in Brooklyn. Shout out fam in Brooklyn. You know who you are. So this part to be expressed, man, and that's it, right? It's like even it could bring up so many, like we have so many examples of this, but dancing, for instance. I used to only dance under the influence of alcohol in the club with ill intentions. I'll say now ill intentions. Intentions to have sex, intentions to hook up, and like that was it. That was like my reasoning. Now I get to dance so often, but with different intentions, but the same energy moves through me. It was just energy that wanted to move through expression. It was energy that wanted to move through me, and I just used a substance to bring that out. Now I get to use a different path to bring that out. Let that energy move. And it's so often in the spiritual communities, it can feel limiting for expression. Surprisingly, it's so surprising because like you go into tantric worlds and you go to these different worlds where you're like people are expressing, and even like kirtan, it's like verbally expressing, and it's beautiful. But then after that, it can feel so limiting to yourself. For me, that's how it felt, and it's like why can't I do this? Like I want to do it as a human, but why am I not letting myself? I feel like I'll be shunned from this community. It's like nah, like do human get weird, right? Like allow yourself to go into that. Consciously, of course. It's like, don't go smoke a bunch of crack. That's not what we're saying. I know.
Right to crack.
I know. I thought, what's the farthest I can go here? Crack was the farthest.
Don't smoke crack, kids.
Don't smoke crack is what we're saying.
Unless it's intentional?
Yeah, if you're consciously smoking crack, it's fine.
It's not.
What? It's a rock.
What?
It's a crystal.
No.
Crystals are good.
Oh, God.
Get your crystals.
No.
Charge up your crystals with fire.
Sorry, Crystal, cover your ears, Crystal. You didn't hear that.
So no, that's not it, of course. Of course. Where do we go from there?
Well, so how about this concept of numerology? It's a sign. We've gone too far. We're making a mess.
Yes. So that's true. I mean, I used to live by that. You have 333 tatted on your body.
Tattooed on my arm.
Tatted on his arm, 333. And actually, to this day, damn, I'm giving it away, but a lot of my passwords end with 333. Not telling you any more about my passwords, but I, to this day, love that. I love numerology. I love seeing repetitive numbers on the thing. Like, I love seeing, like, 555, 444. I love seeing it. But I don't only take action from that or look for that to give me validation for something that I'm doing. And I think I used to be caught up in that of, like, when I saw 444 and I was doing something, it's like, oh, cool. That's it. Like, that means I'm doing it right. Because on the flip side, you don't do it when you don't see those numbers, right? Like, if you don't see it, how do you...
It's irrelevant. It's like, well, I haven't seen a number, so I'm not going to do the thing.
Yeah, like, what then? And so, it's putting our energy and our power into something outside of us.
And side note, Ryan wanted us to price one of our programs at 333.
I did. I still think it's a good idea. I love it.
All the people that follow 333, they're like, I'll buy that, bro.
Yeah, no doubt. I got to tat it on my body. I must do it. It's a sign.
It's on there.
It's a sign.
I finished a bike ride, and my watch said that, so I must have done the right thing.
It's true, though, but that's like, it's also a psychological trick, which is up in itself. Like, people will rate their stuff at that price.
Yeah.
People will then think, oh, that's in alignment for me.
For sure.
So I'll do it. And that's tricking a part of us that is...
No, it's like, if you're gonna do marketing, you know. We paid $49.97 for a reason.
Yeah, exactly.
You know what I mean? So if we're gonna be sneaky about marketing and pricing, just do it.
Yeah.
Don't put it under the realm of spirituality. It's like, no, but this is aligned sneakiness.
This is aligned.
It's like, no, I'm just gonna charge 333 because, like, it's gonna find the right people.
Yeah.
Who subconsciously just are attracted to that number and then buy my program.
Yep. So it's still playing the game.
Like,
you're playing a game,
like,
you're playing the different game.
You know, and so, yes, some of you out there might charge $333 or $777.
We have clients that to this day charge that. So
that
makes sense.
Really resonate with that number.
Yes.
But let's, you know, if it is spiritual bypassing, at least admit it to yourself.
Yeah, and have fun with it. Like, we
it.
can do that. Like, Cam has it tatted on his body. I still love seeing it, and we can also make fun of it and be like, wow, it's so funny that I noticed that, and like, still a piece of me when I see it, I'm like, oh, that's cool. Like, I love seeing it. Great.
When
I get little reminders,
and I have a thought. I still follow that where it's like, I'm thinking about the right thing, because, you know, let's be real. Our guides do speak to us in a lot of different ways. And some people it's through numbers, some people it's through different things they see, different things they hear, different things they feel. And at the same time, we also have to realize that they're not always speaking to us, because we have to do our shit, get stuff done. And if we're not seeing these numbers, or if they're the wrong numbers, it doesn't necessarily mean you're out of alignment.
Yes.
It might just mean that you got to do some shit without guidance.
Yeah. You are powerful. You are powerful. Yeah. It's like,
right?
We are powerful as independent beings, as beings on this planet. And so to put all of our power outside of that is what we're saying. That's the bypassing. That's the continuous need to be validated in our action.
And I love that you said that so much. It's like, it's putting the power outside of us. You know, and I think that's when you asked me to describe spiritual bypassing at the beginning, I didn't include that aspect, and I now feel like I have a richer definition of it now after this conversation, because it is that. It's, why put your power in spirit when you are spirit and you're a human and you have the ability to create your own reality? And this is why I love quantum physics and Dr. Joe Dispenza and all this other stuff that's coming out now, where it's like you have the ability to cultivate whatever you want in your life, independent of what numbers are telling you or which way a crystal is swinging or if Mercury's in retrograde. It's like, you have the ability to create a reality based on your belief systems and ultimately become whatever you want to become. And we're proving this over and over and over again with quantum physics. So take your power out of all this stuff that surrounds you, and be human and create the reality that you want to create. And let me go back to the guy that was Star Child from the Pleiades. If that's his highest alignment, fucking rock that. You know, like, own that shit. I just operate differently. So for me, it wasn't in alignment. So we didn't become friends. Yeah. You know what I mean? Yeah. But if that is your truth, if that is who you really want to be, then own that and do that. And at the same time, just give yourself shit tests.
Yeah, and
to see if you're actually operating within the realm that is actually conducive to your highest alignment and not just avoiding.
Yeah, that's what it comes back to. See where it's coming from. Like the guy from the Pleiades. Why does he identify with that? If it's like, I know this is my truth, this is coming from a pure, powerful place, then move with that. Give it a test for sure, but move with that and own that. But if it's coming from like, I want to be validated and I want to fit into this community, I want X and Y to love me or whatever. If it's from a fear place, a story that was needing to be shifted, that we just have this need for validation, like if it's coming from that ain't your truth. That ain't your power. That's not you in full alignment to your full expression. So that's what Cam is also talking about with these tests, is like, check in with it. Why are you doing this? Why, like for us, why do we have our practices? My morning practice, I want to feel good. And I've had to change and alter and adjust my practice because what I did in my morning routine, for instance, I did just because I saw somebody doing it and I was like, okay, I should do that because they did it. Like I need to like have this amount of crystals because and people, I carry around 2 crystals in my fanny pack at all times. Yes, I do. But with this instance in the routine, like I was like doing certain things, setting it up a certain way because I saw somebody do that. And I was like, do I need to do that? Do I need to meditate for this long because that person said that? Or can I choose what feels good for me and what's going to serve me in this moment? So just continuously checking on that, on the patterns you have, on the things you do, on what you associate with, on what's validating you.
Yeah.
That's
100%. And I want to add something that just came through.
Yes.
It was a download.
Oh, you got a download.
I got a download.
Real talk. Downloads.
Right now, in this moment, came through into my pineal gland. Poof.
Nice. Where'd it come from?
The Arcturians.
Oh, he said it. Could have been, though. Could have been.
Could have been.
Real talk.
I might be an alien. I don't know.
Could be.
It's this concept of spiritual righteousness.
Yes.
That also really plays into spiritual bypassing, where it's like if people aren't spiritual or using spirituality to cover up the fact that you're actually being kind of a dick.
Yeah.
You know, to me, you know, and I used to do this a lot where it was like I would judge people who didn't have practices, or I would basically, I talked about the energy thing. I have judged people and been like, oh, I just didn't like that person's energy, or it was like, work on your shit, figure your stuff out, and I developed this righteousness around it where it was like I ostracized myself from so many different places because I felt righteous about what I was doing, and to me, I was just being a dick.
Yeah,
because
and vegans and CrossFitters do the same thing.
Well, I was a vegan and a CrossFitter, so
you were bad.
Woo, baby, we
checked all the boxes.
We were gone, right? But it's the same thing. It's like just because your beliefs are that way, it doesn't mean that everybody else has to have the same beliefs. And really, what in my opinion, spirituality, and this is why I love Ram Dass and all these powerful humans, is that it's all about love and compassion and empathy and acceptance of people for who they are, right? And so it's really, really important, I think, for us to acknowledge that really, truly the spiritual path is about leaning so deep into the heart that you don't give a shit if they're a rapist, a murderer, unspiritual, CrossFitter, vegan, non-vegan, whatever that is. You see them as a soul. You see them as a human, and you accept them, and you can meet them in love.
Yes.
Because righteousness is just as bad. It's a form of spiritual bypassing.
It's probably coming from an old experience of you were righteous in a certain way, and then so you just move that energy to a certain box and community of people. So we're like, all right, yep, we're here now, and we're better. This is who I am. I identify with this.
Yeah. And
it's the identity piece.
Totally.
So yeah, man.
Really, truly is.
Bombs.
So... we gotta let the energy move. We gotta find center. We gotta find center.
Okay.
Yeah, your hair looks good. It looks really good.
Thanks.
Yeah. So, for everybody out there, this might have triggered something. I have a feeling this podcast probably
This would have triggered me.
This would have triggered me
at many phases in my life. So.
I actually probably have some friends that are going to be triggered by this.
Yeah.
And at the same time, to me, it's just all about as being true as you can. And that's one of the pillars of this podcast is like we speak our truth. We speak what's present. And, you know, to be honest, we're both fucking messes as well. Like we're on like being human is a messy experience. And we might look back on this podcast in 2 years and be like, oh my God, who are those guys? You know what I mean? Because we evolve and we change. And so, you know, all I would say is like a really, you know, for me that really helps me with this, because it can be hard to be like, am I spiritually bypassing? Am I, you know, what am I doing? It's acting from authenticity and truth, like acting from a place of love and doing the best that you can based on the circumstances that you're in. And as long as you can constantly question that and come back to that and test yourself on, am I doing the best I can with what I've been given? Then you're in alignment. No matter what, you can't f that up. As long as there's heart resonance and as long as there's truth, keep doing it. Don't think too much about this one. Just allow yourself to be in what's there and what's present.
And have fun with it.
Have fun.
As you
with
should.
It. Have fun with
Life's
it.
supposed to be fun. Play with it.
Really, truly is. And this is another good segue into our retreat that's coming up.
Oh, it is.
It's coming up in December.
And funnily enough, it's also called Ignite.
Oh.
How weird. What are the chances of that?
Well, we created it, so.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
That makes sense then.
Yeah. It has to be aligned.
It has to be in alignment.
It does.
Igniting your soul.
So it's Ignite New Year's Eve. I almost said August. I'm like, that's not what New Year's Eve is.
New Year's Eve is in August.
It's in August
If you want
now.
it to be.
If we want it to be. If we
can
believe
let
it to be,
It'll
it can be
truth.
there. Yeah. No,
Some things are just facts, people. Some things are just
some
facts.
things are
You can't just change all of reality by saying it. So there you go.
That's so good. December 29th to January 4th, Costa Rica. It's going to be absolute fire. We're going to dive into all of this. We're going to show you the depth. We're going to show you the realness. We're going to share a lot about our journeys, and we're also going to invite you to play with it, to learn to navigate it, to really find a balanced practice, because I'm so passionate about this.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like like this is like why you and I are so aligned, because we can talk and then we can go so deep, right? And we really want to provide people with that same experience where they can come together, have fun, be goofy, not worry about all the seriousness, but then at the same time go into containers and spaces where you can really shift and transform your traumas and your pain, your past life traumas, past life pain, all that kind of stuff. So just know, if you haven't checked it out, check it out. It's going to be absolutely beautiful. And it's in Costa Rica. It's in the jungle. We got the ocean. We're going to be having all kinds of fires, ecstatic dances, cacao ceremonies. There's going to be so much spiritual going down at this thing.
There will be. Yeah.
But we're also going to do some pretty rad stuff.
Yeah. The deep healing and the badass adventures. It's going to be epic.
Boom.
Yes.
Boom, bing, bang.
You said the things.
Follow this man, Ryan Movement Miller, on Instagram.
You got it right. Follow this guy, Cam McDougal, on Instagram.
And the At Live Embodied account for more. Oh, we're so synced up and tuned in.
Stay lit.